anything that's theoretical that you're aware of that could be applied, like from some other planet or some other galaxy or whatever, that something that maybe we have theorized that could be responsible for the way these things are able to move?
Well, when I talk to my friends who are physicists like myself about these things, they sort of laugh, their eyes roll up to the heavens, and they say something very simple, that a rocket using conventional means would take many thousand years to reach us from the nearest star. Therefore, these objects cannot exist. 70,000 years for a Saturn rocket traveling at 25,000 miles per hour to go from a nearest star to the planet Earth. That's why most scientists disregard these sightings, as they defy the laws of Einstein.
But isn't that kind of like saying, you know how long it would take you to get a horse from Los Angeles to Sydney, Australia? Isn't that kind of like saying that?
Exactly. And that's why I say that assumes that these aliens or whatever are maybe 100 years more advanced than us. But open your mind to the possibility that they are 1,000 years more advanced than us. 1,000 years is nothing compared to the age of the universe.
Right.
The universe is about 13 billion plus years. That's how the age of the universe. And so the age of a civilization, just a few thousand years ahead of us, that is just a blink of an eye to the universe itself. And once you go to higher energies, the laws of physics begin to break down. The laws of Einstein and the laws of the quantum break down at something called the Planck energy. Why is that? That's what I do for a living. I work on something called string theory, which lives at the Planck energy. The Planck energy is 10 to the 19 billion electron volts. That is 1 trillion times more powerful than our most powerful atom smasher outside Geneva, Switzerland. Any civilization that can harness the Planck energy would be able to become masters of space and time. Space and time, as we know it, is unstable at the Planck energy, which is far beyond anything that we can muster here on the planet Earth. So we physicists theorize, how advanced do you have to be to access the Planck energy? Well, we rank them. The Kardashev scale says that there could be type 1, type 2, or type 3 civilizations. A type 1 civilization is maybe 100 years more advanced than us, to maybe 1,000 years, sort of like Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon. They control the weather. Volcanoes, earthquakes, anything planetary, they control. That's type 1. Then there's type 2. Type 2 is stellar. They harness the power of an entire star, like Star Trek. Star Trek would be a typical type 2 civilization where they manipulate entire stars. Then there's type 3. Type 3 is galactic. They roam the galactic lanes. They play with black holes, like the Empire of the Star Wars series would be a typical type 3 civilization. Then the next question is, what type do you have to be to harness the Planck energy? The energy at which space and time become unstable, where wormholes may develop, gateways through space and time, portals through empty space. You have to be type 2 or most likely type 3. Then the next question is, how long will it take before you become type 3? Well, we are maybe 100 years away from being type 1. We're maybe a few thousand years from being type 2, and we're maybe 100,000 years from being type 3. And 100,000 years is nothing on a galactic scale. The age of the universe, as I said, over 13 billion years old. And so once a civilization reaches the Planck energy, that is a type 3 civilization, space and time become your playground.
How did they make the estimates of how long it would take to develop such technology?
Looking at the gross national product of nations, we know that most nations grow at the rate of maybe 3% per year in energy consumption. Given that number, 2 to 3% per year, we then calculate how much energy they would have in 100 years, 1,000 years. Now, we are about a civilization about 0.7. Carl Sagan did the calculation. We're not a type 1 civilization yet. We're type 0.7. But that means that by the year 2100, at the turn of the century, we'll probably be type 1. And you can see that everywhere you go. What is the Internet? The Internet is the beginning of a Type 1 communication system. We're privileged to be alive to see the first Type 1 technology fall into our era. What about sports and culture? The Olympics, the beginning of a Type 1 sports. Soccer, the beginning of a Type fashion with Gucci and Chanel. The beginning of a Type 1 language. The number 1 and 2 languages on the Internet are English and Chinese. So we're seeing the beginning of a Type 1 language. So in other words, the greatest transition in human history is maybe 100 years from now when we become Type 1, a planetary civilization harnessing planetary forces. That is perhaps the greatest transition in modern history, and we're about 100 years from becoming Type 1.
So Type 1, we would be able to control weather events, and we'd be able to control planetary events.
That's right.
Like you believe that by Type 1 we'll be able to prevent supervolcano eruptions, things along those lines?
That's right. The power of an entire planet at our disposal, and we see the beginnings of that today because that's been the biggest change in the last 100 years. 100 years ago, we existed as a fragmented civilization, nations battling each other for small turfs. Now we're beginning to see the emergence of planetary blocks, a planetary economy beginning to develop. And the Internet, as I said, is the first Type 1 telephone system to fall into this century.
When you think of technologies that could potentially change the pattern of progression, meaning that, we're on this sort of exponential rate of increase in technology, what about something along the lines of what Elon Musk is proposing with Neuralink? Something that would change the way a human being's brain interfaces with information. When you think of human evolution, do you ever stop to think, what are we going to be like a million years from now if we do survive? Have you ever done this sort of thought experiment where you say, okay, if things keep going the same way,
right.
We used to be very strong and very hairy, and we're getting progressively softer as we don't need to use our bodies as much. Our brains are getting larger, our heads are getting bigger. Do you do that sort of thought experiment to see what we're going to become? And
not in a systematic scientific way, because the process is so fraught with incredible detail that I think it's hard for anybody, even experts in evolutionary biology, to really tell us anything that will hold water, that's really predictive. But on a general level, yeah. I mean, because people often wonder, why is it that we haven't been visited by aliens, right? This is a thing that comes up whenever you're talking about other life inside the universe.
I was going to get to that in a minute with you.
But the answer to that could be quite straightforward. Nobody out there cares about us because we're so ill-developed. We're so young on the cosmic scene that there's nothing interesting for them to find here on planet Earth. So to me, there's a natural explanation for why there can be other life out there, and yet they don't hang out around planet Earth, just the way we don't hang around an anthill to try to have a conversation with, what's going on inside that particular structure.
I buy that argument the least.
You do? Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Because we're interested in butterflies. Butterflies are so boring. We're interested in moles. We're interested in squirrels.
We're interested in them for very specific reasons,
sure.
Right? So typically we're interested either because we want to see the evolutionary development that yields this particular life form, or because there's a general curiosity about how this object is put together. If these other beings are so far beyond us that those kinds of taxonomy questions are no longer of any interest, then hanging around here may not hold anything for them to make the journey and stick around long enough for us to notice.
I don't buy that, again, for two reasons.
Okay.
One, because why would we assume that they're so far beyond us that they wouldn't be interested in these talking monkeys with thermonuclear weapons who dominate an entire planet?
Yeah.
That would be fascinating. If
Right,
we found some planet somewhere where people are, the politicians all lie to themselves, everyone gets video through the sky, they fly in metal tubes that hurl over the oceans.
Right.
They pollute the oceans and eat all the fish. Like, these people are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
We've got to go there and check this out.
But imagine that this civilization, the notion of lording over a planet is like us talking about, the ant lording over a grain of sand. So they may be galactic as opposed to planetary in their hegemony, and the notion of some little tiny rock orbiting some nondescript star in the suburbs of this completely ordinary galaxy off there on the side may not have the kind of pull that you imagine that it does.
Oh, I disagree. We think it's interesting when we see a chimp use a rock to open up a nut. You know, we think it's interesting that, you know, there's an amazing photograph of an orangutan that's spearfishing. Have you ever seen it?
I have seen that, actually.
It's really
yeah.
cool.
Right. No, it is.
He learned it from people, apparently, but it's still interesting nonetheless.
Right, but I don't think 100 years from now we're going to be as interested in these kind of qualities, or 1,000 years from now, or 10,000 years from now.
Well, why would we assume that these things that come here from another planet are more than 10,000 years?
Well,
advanced?
that's a very good question, and I think the answer to that is we look at the history of the cosmos until today. And let's just call it our universe to be concrete, 13.8 billion years. And we look at life on planet Earth, and it's, a handful of billions of years old. So in a handful of billions of years, you can go from some complex molecules to human beings.
I like how you say it like it's not that long.
It's not that long because, imagine that life began a few billion years earlier in some other system, stars and galaxies, they were starting up, a billion years after the Big Bang. So it could be that life in other worlds has a head start on us by a few billion years. And we know what can happen in a few billion years. It can take us from single cell to us.
Sure.
And you can imagine from a few billion years from now into the future, it could be radically different. So to say it's 10,000 years ahead of us, that to me would be the unexplained coincidence. How unlikely that they started and we started within 10,000 years in the span of billions of years. That seems unlikely to me.
Does it seem unlikely when you're talking about the infinite size of the universe, and there's perhaps an infinite number of Brian Greens out there talking to an infinite numbers of me?
Good point. So you're absolutely right. We're almost guaranteed, if the spatial expanse of the universe is infinitely large, that there are going to be places where it's within 10,000 years of us. But those are going to be a very small number compared to the places where it's not 10,000 years.
Is that true, or would it be an infinite number of them?
Well, it'd
not
be
a
infinite,
small number at all.
But they're different kinds of infinities.
So you mean in the space of the exact scope of the universe itself, a small number, relatively speaking, to where we are physically?
So I would say it slightly differently. I'd say look at a finite-sized ball in this large spatial expanse. So everything is finite now.
So let's get a 5 billion light year ball.
Right. Okay. And within that ball, the number that are differing from us by 10,000 years will be very, very small compared to the number differing from us by, say, a billion years or a couple of billion years. So then, simply by the law of numbers, if we imagine that they're random processes that are generated. Now, there could be some physical principle that prevents life from emerging before, say, 4 billion years ago. And if that's the case, and we're not aware of that principle, then you'd be absolutely right, that we'd all be roughly at the same starting point, and there's no reason to suspect that they would be so far ahead of us. But I don't know of any such principle.
But you almost have a reductionist view of this, right? Like so if you had a guess, if you had $100 to bet, has alien life ever observed us? You would say no. Well,
by observed, you mean could they just turn a big telescope in our direction and gather some radio waves, but yes, I would take that bet because frankly, we've only been generating radio waves for the last, 70 years. So it's only a 70 light year ball around us. And within that small radius, very unlikely that there's been some alien world that's examining us.
So it would have to be something that would be able to recognize our signal and visit us.
Right.
But don't we look at observable planets and solar systems and discover Goldilocks planets?
We do.
And we examine those planets from vast distances away.
Yes.
And wouldn't you assume that a life form that is perhaps thousands of years more advanced than us with the exponential increase in technology, I mean, if they ever got to the point where we are, that they would see these Goldilocks planets as well and recognize that Earth is one of them?
Yes. However, if they are so far away, they're going to be examining Earth as it was hundreds of thousands or millions or billions of years ago.
Right.
So if you truly want them to be examining us in the sense of human presence on planet Earth, then it's a much more difficult proposition to imagine that they've actually been doing that.
Is it possible there's another way to examine things where you're not hampered by the speed of light?
Not
No?
that I know of. I mean, any signal in the
Right.
world that we're aware of is restricted by special
speed of
theory
travel.
by the speed of travel, which is
Yeah.
now look. There's quantum entanglement,
Mm-hmm.
which is a strange property of the quantum world, in which distant objects can behave as if they are one.
Yes.
And in some sense respond instantaneously to an influence in one location at a distant location, no matter how far apart they are. But that isn't really observing. That's more realizing correlations between physical properties at widely separated locations. But I'm not aware of a means of leveraging that to actually observe what's happening in some distant location, even if you do have quantum entangled particles.
What are your thoughts on alien life, on life outside of this planet? Is this something you think about?
Yeah, I think there must be. Even in the solar system, I would not be surprised if we find microbes on Mars or on some of the moons of Jupiter or Saturn where there's liquid water.
Like Europa.
Yeah. And the reason is, if you think about, the reason I think that, and it's a guess, is because if you look at the history of life on Earth, then, so Earth formed and it was just there was no life. It was a ball of rock. And almost as soon as it cooled down, we see evidence of life. So certainly 3.8 billion years ago, possibly even further back than that, we see evidence of life on Earth. So somewhere along the line, geochemistry, active geochemistry became biochemistry on Earth. And we have some idea, that if you get gradients of temperature and acid and alkaline and the conditions that are naturally present on the surface of oceans, then complex carbon chemistry spontaneously happens. So we know that life, almost certainly we know that life began on Earth. I mean, the other option is it came from space or something like that, but it probably didn't, right? It probably began on Earth. So that means that at least here, that happened. And that we know that the conditions that led to the origin of life on Earth were present on Mars 4 billion years ago. And we know that they're present on Europa today. So I don't see that there's anything special. Life is just chemistry. And the idea that geochemistry becomes biochemistry is not fanciful because it happened here. So I think that given the same conditions, it would be surprising to me if the same thing didn't happen, in that life begins. So that's to test that is one of the great frontiers of science now. It's one of the great challenges, which is why another reason we're interested in Mars, because we know those conditions were there. We know there were what's called hydrothermal vent systems on the floors of oceans on Mars 3.8 or 4 billion years ago. So it would be good to know if what I've said is right. And the way we find out is to find life or evidence of past life.
Are you aware of the speculation that was going around? How recent was it, that Occupy thing, the octopus eggs? There was a group of scientists that were speculating that it's panspermia, the idea of panspermia, that it's possible that octopi had come from somewhere else. Some frozen eggs had actually come from somewhere else and landed on Earth. And these are like legitimate scientists that are contemplating, not morons.
I don't think...
Have you seen this?
No, I didn't. But I mean, I think it's unlikely. So panspermia doesn't have to be unlikely.
Right.
I mean, for example, you might have
Sure.
seen the other day we found an Earth rock on the moon.
Yes.
Right. Well, it was back
Yeah.
on Earth now because the Apollo
Right.
astronauts brought it back, didn't they? And it's 4 billion years old or something like that.
One of the oldest rocks ever found.
Yeah.
Right.
So we know that material gets transferred between planets. And so it's not inconceivable that microbes could survive that journey. Right? We know that microbes can survive in space, for example. So that isn't mad. It's
Right.
probably unlikely, but it's not mad. But with the octopus, I hadn't heard that. But the thing is that the octopus is still extremely similar biologically to us. I mean, the differences are negligible.
Yeah.
So it's still got the same energy system with this thing called ATP and DNA and all that stuff. It's all very, very similar.
It was something about RNA and DNA. Did you find that article?
I'm looking at a different one from
So-
a different website. It's about the same thing. It has to do with the Cambrian explosion. And there were 33 authors on a paper that got published in the Progress in Biophysics and Molecular Biology that talked about this possibility. There are other people that disagree with it, though.
Right.
I mean, I suppose I haven't seen it. So I think it's unlikely because the octopus is extremely similar to us. So that suggests a common origin to me. That I suppose the counter argument you could advance would be there's only one way to do life. So you could say that actually,
right.
given, because the laws of physics and chemistry are the same everywhere. So maybe DNA is the only way to do it. So that's the way it gets done.
Which is why they're so similar to us.
Yeah, so
although so alien as well.
Yeah, they're not, though. You know, that's the thing about an octopus. That's why I'm surprised about it, because they're not that alien. They're very similar.
Well, they're in their abilities. I mean, their ability to transform their outer texture and their color almost instantaneously.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have incredible camouflage abilities that really don't exist in the mammalian world.
Yeah, but on a cellular level, you look at an octopus cell under a microscope, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Right.
Between an octopus cell and a human cell.
So the only way that would make sense is if all life comes from basically the same kind of building blocks and just varies depending upon the conditions and where it takes place.
I'm guessing, but
Right.
yes, that must be the only way you could sustain that, given that they're so similar to us, because they really are, biochemically, is that's the only way it can be done, given the building block, the toolkit, the laws of nature, and the elements and so on that we have in our universe.
We have so many different life forms on our planet, but if we found anything that's remotely similar to what we have here on Earth on another planet, it would be such an incredible discovery. Like if we found a frog on the moon, I mean, the world would stop, right?
I'd be very surprised if we found a frog on the moon.
But I mean, if we found anything anywhere that is in any way similar, an insect on Mars.
Well, this is, I mean, as I say, it'd be micro. I think it'd be single-celled things. Remember, I mean, you mentioned the Cambrian explosion. So that is what we do know about Earth is that although life began, let's say, 3.8 billion years ago, it wasn't until around 600 million years ago or so, or maybe at most 700, that you see any complex multicellular organisms at all. So for something like 3 billion years, it was single-celled alone. And that's one of the reasons why I would guess, if I had to guess, I would say that microbes would be common because life began very quickly on Earth. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find it on Mars. But complex life, multicellular life, insects, plants, intelligence, I would guess would be very rare because it took so long on Earth to get there. And it was just slime. About 3 billion years of slime. It was that was it.
Catch new episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience for free only on Spotify. Watch back catalog JRE videos on Spotify, including clips. Easily, seamlessly switch between video and audio experience. On Spotify, you can listen to the JRE in the background while using other apps and can download episodes to save on data cost, all for free. Spotify is absolutely free. You don't have to have a premium account to watch new JRE episodes. You just need to search for the JRE on your Spotify app. Go to Spotify now to get this full episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. Most likely to conceive, and it's also like that's what nature wants. Yeah. Nature wants you to have sex when you're a fucking kid. You're 16.
It's because we will last more than 20 years. I think nature was like, get this done now. You're dead in a decade.
No, but we haven't adapted to that yet. We haven't.
We'll ever catch up?
How? It would take so long. It's not like people are going to stop humping.
Yeah, I mean, chemically, that would change.
You would have to almost delay puberty, but then when you would fuck up people's development, like what could you do? Because there's a window when you're growing and your hormones are kicking in and all this stuff is kind of synced normally by nature. If you interfere with that because you think the kids can't handle having sex, like you're going to delay, what are you going to delay puberty? Like till they're smart enough?
Yeah, you have to.
Well, you're not even smart enough when you're in your 20s.
No, you're not. No one's smart enough. Fucking it never kicks in.
What's wild about humans, right, is like there's this clear biological imperative to procreate, and it kicks in when you have no business teaching a kid life. You know, to raise a child when you're 15. And you're the husband's 15 and you're 15.
It's a nightmare.
And you just gave birth to a baby and you're a baby.
Yeah. Like that impregnant show or whatever. That always it's like when it works, you're happy because you're like the kid's might turn out to have a nice life, but when you see that goes awry, it's sad as shit because a lot of times it's bound to lose, you know. But then sometimes you wait too long, and it gets harder to have kids. I've dealt with that. It's just it's wild how your body sometimes, or the body is like,
That's you missed the window.
maybe you miss a window. Yeah.
Yeah, they have in vitro
Science.
fertilization.
Yeah,
and
science
kicks
fixes
in.
all that shit.
Yeah. Well, they're developing the concept, at least, of artificial wombs, and they think that
Whoa.
there will be a time where they'll be able to have babies outside of a human body.
Just growing next to you in your house?
Yeah. How far away is that? Because I've read something recently on this as a concept that they think that, but then like what is the baby getting from the mother in terms of like emotions and feeling, and like babies are empathic, right? They're feeling the mother's stress. Your cortisol raises when your mother's under stress.
Right.
There's probably like lessons, like you're learning things from the mother, like just from feelings.
Like instinctual stuff kicks in. And
I wonder.
Well, it's got to be based on like diet and your lifestyle schedule, and the way that you operate has to influence the way that.
Can you imagine if they made babies in an artificial womb and the babies just came out like soulless? And what do? Like
it's very stiff.
Yeah, and then the scientists say, well, actually, we've discovered the soul's real. And it only comes from the mother into the baby, and it comes while the baby's inside the mother.
That's actually a great movie.
They think that actually, that was like an ancient belief, that the soul entered the body at a certain time. Now I'm thinking about it, I think it was like 6 weeks. There was an ancient belief that there was a very specific time where the soul entered the body.
While you're in the womb.
Yeah, while the baby's in the womb.
So you're in there for 6 weeks cooking. At 6 weeks, that's when the soul shows up.
Is that what they think it was? What was this ancient myth, belief, whatever you, who knows if it's real?
I feel like it'd be right the moment that
Aristotle.
there's fertilization.
Aristotle believed it?
In the time of Aristotle is actually what it says. Soul entered the embryo at 40 days for a male and 90 days for a female.
Beat you there, girls.
Wonder why I waited.
Why they chill?
Ensoulment.
They're fucking late. They gotta do something.
What's it called?
Ensoulment.
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 And so that was just their belief. Was it based on any thought?
Hippocrates was the first to believe this.
Well, he's always contradicting himself.
Believed the embryo was a product of male and
Hypocrisy. Why are we? I wonder. Why do you speculate 40 and they're 90? Why would that be?
They probably didn't like girls.
Right, that's why. These bitches are slow. They don't even get their souls when we get our souls.
Give me the taste of the good stuff.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
These bitches are slow.
I mean, they probably was
I bet you
listening.
they probably get it before we do, if anything.
Artificial womb thing I found, 2019, there's an article that said they think they're 10 years away, but I dug through that to find the person that was claiming it, and it turns out it's just like an artist.
Oh.
So like, it's not like it wasn't a group scientist thing, it was like an artist that says like, we might be
Hey man,
there.
art scientist.
That would scare the shit out of me if they were just making people in a lab. Oof.
You don't think they're doing that already?
But yeah, there's vision.
I feel it gotta be manipulating.
I bet in another country they're doing it.
I think we got our hands in there, baby.
Do you think so?
I think for sure.
You think like in Area 51 they're out there making people?
Well, it was so funny that for how many years, when you were a kid, for how many years did you hear about, that alien life forms at Area 51? That's all bullshit. That's not what it. And then now they're like, no, there's some alien shit over there.
They don't.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
They say there's something unidentified. They found things that they don't know really what it is, that they've experimented on, for sure.
I get exactly what they've said.
What do they
talk to a lot of these guys? What the government is admitting is that they believe that there are crafts that are operating that are outside of their understanding of physics.
They've never said that we have anything?
There have been people that have said, and this is a quote from the Pentagon, that there was off-world vehicles not from this earth. Mm-hmm. But who said that quote is what I was always confused about. It was like one of the top Pentagon official. It's like one of those things where it's like, wait a minute, who said that?
Yeah.
And what is the exact quote? How did you exactly say it? How much of this is clickbait? But I've talked to multiple pilots that have had encounters.
I got to know we got something.
And I don't know if it's ours, if it's a drone that we don't tell them about, that moves in a way that defies our understanding of physics because it doesn't operate on a propulsion engine. It operates on something that's completely new and unique. And there have been thoughts about how a new and unique gravity-based propulsion system would work for decades. Astrophysicist Eric W. Davis, who spent years working as a consultant for the Pentagon UFO program and is now a defense contractor, gave a classified briefing to the Defense Department on what he called off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. In other words, spaceships. The bombshell quote came in the latest UFO report from the New York Times, which has owned the beat for the past several years. In December 2017, the paper reported on the existence of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, a Pentagon effort to investigate UFOs that was supposedly shuttered in 2012, but wasn't. The article, hailed as a historical inflection point in our attitudes regarding UFOs, implied the same message that the most recent one does. Basically, flying saucers are real.
Can I see a picture of Eric W. Davis?
Pussy Eric's
I want to see that. I want to see his. I want to see how much I believe him based on his look.
Yes, let's just go.
Let's see what he
just
looks
for his
like,
look.
just so I can see what he looks like.
Is that him?
No, that's here in Austin. Warp Drive Metrics, consulting for the Department of Defense. That's it. Just go
That's
back
him.
and go to images,
Him?
Jamie. Click on images so we can pick one for fun. You know, like so we can make a. Oh, that's him, dude. That is him. Wow, there's your dog.
Off-world technology.
Okay, so based on that first picture in the Hawaiian shirt,
Yeah.
do we believe it?
A little skeptical.
I'm skeptical. This, I don't know, dude. That Tommy Bahamas lead me down a weird line.
But if you're the Pentagon, you wanted to hire a guy.
That's the guy.
That's the guy.
That is the guy.
Because you don't want any distractions. You want a guy who's 100% invested. So he was back then too? What year? Is that
That's just
Jacques Vallée?
It's like a white power.
Huntsville, Alabama?
Yeah, looks like it's him.
What is that Jacques Vallée with him?
It's LinkedIn, so yeah.
Interesting.
What's crazy about what I just said about saying that too?
What?
In that photo, I would just say joking around saying like it looks like he's throwing up like power symbol. This guy like a Nazi salute.
Right.
You know what's insane?
What?
Huntsville. That's where the cake was started.
Jesus.
Literally.
Is that Jacques with him? I think he's too old in that image.
I played that gig in Huntsville. Joe, we took a ride from Nashville down to Huntsville, and the driver was a really cool dude, really nice. And I was playing the Huntsville, whatever's down there. I don't know what down there in Alabama, but you do like a one show after Nashville, and we're driving, and he's like, you know, NASA's right here, and I was like, oh really? He's like, it's right there, dude. He's like, you won't see it? Yeah, if we have time, for sure. Drives by, seeing the outside of it. You know, they have fucking like rockets outside. It's dope as shit. And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. He's like, yeah, man, a lot of fucking nerds is going to be at your show from there, I'm sure. And I was like, yeah, but hopefully. And he goes, yeah, it's a cool little thing that they plopped it right down here by us. Down that road, KKK got started. I was like, oh, what a juxtaposition of that to that. He's like, yeah, you know, I'm not proud of it, but that's where. And I was like, so right there is NASA, like the most brilliant minds on Earth, like a mile away from the most chaotically stupid people on planet. I was like, that's so, like that's like it's like universal, like comedy given to the Earth, where it's like NASA, complete insane shitheads a mile away from each other, where it was birthed. Yeah, where it was birthed. And I asked him if it was still over there, and he's like, I don't know, but I don't know. And I was like, okay, so. Yeah, they're there.
If you were working on a base and they brought in some shit. Imagine if you're one of the guys someone's got to move those things around. They're not having the eggheads move them around.
No.
They're going to have guys like you and me.
Yeah.
If you and me were working on some fucking Air Force base, top secret clearance,
We'd be
we know how to shut the fuck up because all of our phones are bugged.
Right.
You know, like they bug everything. They
For
bug
sure.
your house. You make sure you're not talking any shit. You're not saying nothing. You wheel in this burnt up UFO. And you're like, what is this? And they're like, shut the fuck up.
Nothing.
Get out of here.
They don't let him waste shit.
Well, someone has to move it in.
No, those guys do, but they tell your boss to get the fuck out of the building.
Right, but if
what
you're one
he's
of those
saying-
guys, move it in.
Oh, those guys.
Somebody has to move it in. They're not going to get the eggheads to move the
They're
thing.
talking about the eggheads. Like, what do they do?
No, if you have an enormous fucking spaceship,
Yes.
and you're a guy like you and I were maintenance in Area 51,
We definitely.
100%.
I'm crying something, and you're like, come on, brother, you gotta help me move this
Yeah.
fucking thing out this van.
We got this thing, and,
Shit.
we get it. It's got like a low hum to it.
Just putting out a cigarette next to it, like I don't know if it's be
You set
near
it
it.
down there. It's covered in fucking soot and dirt and shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is this?
It's drip.
It crashed in the North Pole.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. It's leaking. Something's leaking out of it.
Bro.
Like it's oil or some shit.
Bro.
Are you tasting it?
Yeah. You wouldn't taste it?
Change your life if you saw a spaceship from another planet. Like, for sure, from another
The
planet.
problem is, this is the never-ending argument. Who's going to believe you? Because then you automatically become like I'm dead serious. And everybody's
Yeah.
like, so you'd have to be, no, there is no way. It's like a never-ending, who's going to believe you? Because even people that really love your wife, like someone that's like, that knows you the best would be like, babe, is everything okay?
Yeah,
You're like, no,
they
I'm
would start thinking
serious.
you're cracking.
They're
They
like,
worry about
you're
you.
losing it.
They would tell their friends.
I don't know what's been going on.
Andrew changed his medications and now he's seeing things. He's seeing things. Yeah.
That was, I don't know why this shot into my brain, but there was a great documentary about a retirement community in Florida. And at this point in his life, the dude decided to start experimenting with, because he's like, fuck it, dude, I'm
Yeah, he's
old.
80.
Yeah, and he was
Let's
like,
go.
I don't give a shit. And the poor wife would be like, there's a scene where she's like, well, now what do you, they're both like sweet from the South. And she's like, what are you going to do? And he opens the door and he's out of his mind. He goes, don't come in here. I'm going to be jerking off. He closes the door on her. And you can tell she looks at what is this? That's exactly what it's called. Some kind of heaven. Bro, that's the guy. Brother, it's so fucking, this is such a great, beautiful docuseries about what it's like to live in one of these retirement. That's him. He's punching himself, dude.
Oh my God, and with a kung fu outfit on. That guy looks like a p.
Dude, he's awesome.
Where is he?
This is all in Florida at this resort.
Y'all doing karate together and working out? That looks like fun.
So high-end resort, you pay this huge fee to get in, right? And then there's monthly fees. And then it's
stuff.
Everything's included, though, but it's very promotional of active elderly. So they're like, this isn't like a come in, hospice. It's like, are you young enough to want to still go out and go drink and party and go play? And they all go there to party. And this dude he found cocaine, by the way, which is... Yeah, dude. He's driving a golf cart. He's just ripped out of his head.
Here's another documentary about it called Golf, Booze, and Guns Inside the Boomer Paradise.
It's awesome. That looks like fun.
But
That's where I'd want to go.
the
Look, when we
villages.
get old as fuck, dude, we should start our own.
100%.
Let's do it.
I would love that.
All old comics. I'm
Old- Yes.
It's kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah, this is kind of it. This is my environment.
We got a lot of young guys here too, though.
Dude, these do. This is the
We
scene.
got a lot coming
The
up.
scene out here is moving heavy. I'm not trying to spread rumors, but old Joey DeRosa is going to be here this week, and he told me he wants to fucking move here. I don't know if he's going to, but
Love it.
I love
tell him
Joe.
I'll have a sandwich shop with him.
Dude, I think
Let's go, Joe.
I said, "Are you really going?" I texted him this morning, and he's like, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Austin." He's like, "I'll be there in 3 days." I was like, "I'm out of here. I'm sorry, man." And he genuinely, I think he genuinely has this. I would bug him about it.
I don't eat sandwiches, but I would eat one of his sandwiches.
No, they're great.
If I wanted to take like a cheap meal and feel like shit for 12 hours,
That's the one.
his fucking sandwiches look incredible.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. The problem is, it's a bar too, so old spotty liver over here. I have to have a couple every time I go.
Sandwiches. Oh my God.
They're delicious.
What is that one?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter
Oh
and jelly.
my God, incredible.
With Ruffles, original.
Oh my God. He's an animal. There's no health involved in his food.
Oh, dude. No.
His food is all about mouth pleasure.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic, though. His subs look insane.
It's
What's it called again? Joey Rose's?
Yeah. I was just
I hear
there.
nothing but great things.
Over there with
I hear
him,
they're
and then
huge sandwiches too.
They are, and it's a great little spot. And I think it's in the lower East Village.
I
maybe?
love when a comic does something off the wall like that.
Yeah, man. Trying.
He might have people. I don't know if I think this. I don't know. I never researched it, but people that I know that have researched it think he might have kind of upgraded his resume a little bit, and maybe he didn't go to MIT.
Right. That was the claim, but they also said that he really worked for what's that lab in New Mexico?
Well, Lawrence Livermore and JPL.
JPL.
Yeah, JPL's in Pasadena. Yeah,
but whatever it was in New Mexico that they had found that he actually did work in the building, even though they tried to say that he didn't.
Oh, yeah,
so
maybe.
that he did something with somebody, and however much of his story was true, always gets fishy when you find one thing that's not true, like that he didn't go to MIT. So
Totally.
Stanton Friedman.
Yeah.
You know Stanton Friedman? Yeah. Stanton Friedman, who's a very famous UFO researcher. He's one of the main guys arguing that Bob Lazar is full of shit.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is there is a I know the guy that did all the research on that, and I know the guy that studied it for decades, and he's actually writing a foreword on the book. It's the journalist has won like 8 Peabody Awards and Emmys and shit. But George Knapp, who I told you about, and he's just got like, he can speak for hours on that entire thing.
He's always on the Coast to Coast show, right?
Yeah, he does like a couple Sundays each month. Yeah.
Did you follow Element?
Oh, yeah.
What is it? Element 115? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Popular Mechanics article about it right here.
Welcome, Element 115. Now, what's your real name? Researcher ate Element 115 in the lab for the second time overall in the first time in a decade, paving the way for its official status as a member of the periodic table. And so, Google Bob Lazar, Element 115.
Yeah.
I think that if he knew that long ago, like that alone would make people want to take him more seriously.
Yeah.
All the stuff that he said. Well, first of all, we know that there is a Groom Lake. We know that there is an Area 51. We know they denied its existence until they wanted to expand the perimeter. Till they wanted to, because people would sit on a ledge and they would watch all these test flights of whatever the fuck they had, whatever it was they were doing, whether working on stealth bombers or whatever it was. People would film this, and so they wanted to expand the perimeter of prohibited area, and so in doing so, they had to admit the existence of the base itself.
Yeah.
I believe that was in the 90s, right?
It was in the 90s. They expanded the perimeter. Something else that the government had to do is they had to admit UFOs were real because there was some military people. Look at it.
Yeah,
he talks about 150 all through this.
And what year is this, Jamie? Does it say on the bottom? What is it? When is it? Was this put out? This video?
Well, this one here is 2015, but the video was taken on VHS.
Old as fuck.
This is
right?
like 1990, maybe.
It's on the Sci-Fi Channel. Spelled sci-fi.
Yeah, everyone uses a lot of the
SYFY.
Yeah,
So that's old as fuck. Say some of that though, because that dude's a trip. Because he's one of those weird guys where even if you're a skeptical guy, you listen to Bob Lazar talk and you're like, this guy's obviously smart as fuck. Here we go.
Is in the top of the reactor, and the base of the reactor apparently is a small, something similar to a cyclotron. It's a particle accelerator. A particle is accelerated to high speed and then deflected up a small tube, and it's aimed at the 115. This transmutes the 115, similar to the way we do that in a normal accelerator. This causes a reaction, a radiation emission that we really haven't seen before. It produces antimatter. This antimatter is guided down a tuned tube and reacts with a gas. When antimatter reacts, they convert to 100% energy. This energy is converted, heat energy, is converted to electrical power in the reactor itself. This is done through a thermoelectric converter. And this electrical power is used to power other subsystems on the craft, though there is no wiring, as we would know it. Also, that's almost a byproduct of the reactor. The reactor also sets up a gravitational wave from the 115 being bombarded. This gravitational wave is present at the top of the reactor and is essentially guided in the same way microwaves are guided. And this goes to their amplifying cavities and the projectors that are in the bottom of the craft.
Wish I was smart enough to know whether or not he's full of shit.
Well, so he's saying is that there's a gravity wave that's accessible on a really large element that extends beyond the perimeter of the atom. Mm-hmm. And when you bombard that element with one particle, kind of like what we were talking about before, it goes through a tuned tube, like a very tiny miniature CERN. Mm-hmm. CERN's like a big magnet, holds a particle in a very specific spot. It hovers. It shoots and it hits that. It decays. It becomes this matter-antimatter reaction. These generators can convert all that energy into power, and then they can amplify that wave that's coming off and emanating from that element. And they amplify it like you would amplify a radio wave. Now, there's no wires in the craft because most likely it was 3D printed. We didn't know about 3D printing back then. I've talked to Bob about this, but not just 3D printing, just the materials, but atomically aligning the elements so consciousness and other types of things can move through those materials to operate the craft. It's really
so
tricky.
they're operating it without buttons.
Right.
They're operating it. It's like one of the things that he said theoretically, right?
Yeah.
Was that there was handprints and that they were much different shaped hands than ours.
Yeah.
And this craft that he had found inside one of these bays in Area 51, he realized very quickly that it wasn't something that we had created, and that it was somehow or another powered through intention.
Yep.
That would go through like touch or feel, or put their hands would be on this thing, and consciously you would somehow or another control all the various aspects of this machine.
Exactly.
Boy, it sounds good, doesn't it? God, I want to believe. So hard.
Well, I hope you do, because there's going to be a lot of stuff.
I know what you've seen though. So you've seen this piece of metal. What else have you seen?
I've seen many documents on the studies of these things, and I've seen a lot of the science associated with what the technology is and what it does. Like I could show you if I fold up pieces of paper and stuff what's going on with it, but basically. These craft, they travel in a straight line, but they're folding space-time.
Like in Event Horizon, where they explain it by folding a piece of paper and punching a pencil through it. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, kind of
Great
like
fucking
that.
movie.
But it's more like, here, I can draw it for you here. Not that this is it's kind of like when you have 2 points, we're used to traveling in a direction like that. Mm-hmm. And so when we look up, we see a plane that goes straight.
Right.
But these UFOs fold space-time like this, and so it looks like to them they're going in a straight line. So if you're in the ship, you see that. Mm-hmm. But if you're on the ground, you see that.
Okay.
That's why you see them blink off and on. A lot of those videos, they're on. It looks like they're jumping. It's just because of this.
So
they're folding space-time.
So they have interfacing with space itself that's very different than our idea of traveling in a linear way from point A to point B.
The fabric, they call it the fabric of space-time because it's like a fabric. It's malleable.
Now, let me ask you this. How often in conversation do people look at you and think you are fucking crazy when you start talking about this? And how long?
All the time, yeah.
All the time, right? But do you ever get to the point where you're like, I don't want to talk about this?
No, because I always tell people you don't know what I know. And there's a lot.
No. I mean, like, do you ever get to the point where I can't do this anymore?
No.
Like, people think I'm fucking crazy.
No, because I'm involved on the most important shit I've ever been in my life.
So you think this is like the most important that you've ever done in your life?
Oh, fuck yeah. Like, I have meetings with senators coming up. Like,
do you?
Oh, fuck yeah,
What's
I do.
that?
I can't tell you.
Damn, it's all this can't tell you stuff.
I know, because this is fucking tricky shit.
When it's going to come out? Like, it seems like eminent rather disclosure type shit.
To what my company does, that's what I'll say.
So what company? What are you trying to do?
Well, so if you look at the people involved, we have senior. When you get to the senior levels of government, you're either called an SES or SIS, Senior Intelligence Service, Senior Executive Service, or you're a brass. But either way, the civilians have the same kind of ranking charter that the brass does. So a SES 3, SAS 3 would be the same thing as a 3-star general. So that's who these people are around me. So I had the head of the Skunk Works Engineering. I got, a SIS 2-star from the Clandestine Directorate of Operations. I have a guy, Undersecretary of Intelligence for the Senate Intelligence Committee, and was...
These guys are quasi-retired? Quasi-retired.
They all
left
our current
public life and now are involved with what you're doing.
They are current consultants to the the intelligence community.
Okay.
That's probably the most...
And involves project with clearance?
They all have their top secret TSSCI clearances, yeah. I'm the only one that does it. On my entire team, I'm the only one that does it. Actually, Lou, that just came out, I hired him away. So he was head of all, he was in charge of all classified operations for Secretary of Defense Mattis. So he was called a GS-15 right underneath the 1, 2, and 3 stars. He ran the Advanced Aerial Threat Program, and it's still continuing to this day. And he's with us now.
So the Advanced Threat Program under the United States government is essentially a UFO